If you can plant a tree today, do so. That's my thing.
Welcome to People and Trees, an exploration of the social, technical, and environmental impact of urban forestry. We are the New Jersey Tree Foundation, and we plant trees in the neighborhoods that need them most at the request of the people who live there. The goal of this series is to recognize our volunteers and share the collective wisdom of our partners. In this episode, we visit the Bergen Square neighborhood of Camden, New Jersey, where Christoff Lindsey is known as the king of green spaces. And clearly, he's a benevolent ruler.
Hey, neighbors. Good morning, John. I am well, thank you. Again. And whatever you do, don't talk to this guy. Did you know?
Always stand in the ring.
Yeah.
Trying to make it seem
I'm
like
trying,
you
I'm
know.
trying. Bro, listen, it's hard to do what I do,
Right.
which is nothing.
I know.
I make it look good.
You do that at the back.
I make it look good, don't I? Love you, bro.
Yes, sir.
Christoff invites us on a tour of his tree-lined street. It's where we met him in 2007 when he and his neighbors partnered with the New Jersey Tree Foundation. Together, we planted the trees that now line Walnut Street.
This is Lenora, the Lenore. And that's Sarge. And she was my babysitter. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And I just put the greens you gave me. So whenever he brings me vegetables, then I cook them and I make sure I share them with him.
And you talking about cooking. And this is warm. Oh, you know,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
you know I'm gonna devour this, right? You know, and your locks look fabulous.
Oh, thank
Because you do so many things with your hairstyle.
All I do is watch it.
Okay, okay. Well, she was also part, I have pictures of her
Yeah.
with her
And
grand,
my grandchildren.
who are now,
yes,
how old are they?
21 and 23.
And they were at this tree right
Tree
there.
right
Yeah, I
there,
have
yeah,
pictures.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So they, and Mama was still here. Tootsie was still
They're
here.
Yep.
You know, everybody was still here, but you know, they're transitioned now.
Yes.
But the trees made a difference. They make a
Yes.
difference on the block. Absolutely.
Our partnership was a natural fit. We plant trees where trees are needed most, and Christoff's neighborhood was in need of trees.
There was only one tree on this block. And I got involved with New Jersey Tree Foundation around that time because we did a tree planting, which then exposed me to their philosophy of increasing the urban canopy here in Camden, which had been decimated completely. Older legacy trees were gone or dying, and the canopy needed to be replaced post haste.
That first planting sparked a new purpose. Christoff was now on a mission to reforest Camden, and the New Jersey Tree Foundation was right there with him.
Because I just love trees. I was a Boy Scout, so trees and yada yada. And them being on the block at the time they were, me being a caregiver for my grandmother, just reignited me in trees, in nature, basically, right? So I started volunteering like crazy. I was at almost every tree planting for years. So I'm not personally responsible, but I was at plantings of 700 trees. That's a freaking forest. And I'm very proud of that.
From his front door to across Camden, Christoff is prolific, both in the planting and maintenance of trees.
It just gives you a sense of belonging in an area. Just take Camden, all right? And I love my city. I mean, this is my city. Doesn't matter what area code you're in, not area code, zip code, pardon me, or you 103, 2, 4, whatever. You're still Camden. So if you're bound Rutgers, which is a brain trust, and you have Victor Daze, not giving them a shout out, but you know, it's a little, the average income's a little higher down there, right? 6 figures, right? You come here and what you smell is what you smell, obviously. That's weed. You come here, it probably drops from, let's say the average 95,000 annually here, there, to about, with the brain trust, maybe a little higher, to maybe 35, 40,000. You know, the great equalizer are trees. You know, Trees make people smile, you know. And like I said, one of the few streets that was privately done by the citizens of the street, that trees were run on both sides of the street, that 17 years later provide you shade right now. Beforehand, you will be in the sun, blistering.
Cities without adequate tree canopy suffer the heat island effect. Lack of shade allows radiant heat to be absorbed by concrete, where it's retained, and temperatures remain higher than neighboring suburbs. That heat made Christoff's block and Bergen Square dangerously hot in warm weather months.
You couldn't come outside. I mean, I have a porch, I'm blessed. But then again, you had to wait for the rotation of when the sun doesn't move, we move. But when the sun moved, because people couldn't, there was no shelter on the street. Absolutely none. Except for the one tree, there was a one tree on the block, you know, and it was decrepit. You know, it had to be replaced, you know.
We spoke to Christoff on a day when the local heat index stretched uncomfortably above 100 degrees. On his street, the trees provided plenty of shade, but Christoff says lack of trees on neighboring streets is changing how people experience summer.
106, what are you going to do? And there's no shade. Are you kidding me? So you opt to stay inside, which now removes you from where you should be, outside. If you know, minus the heat, you know, because summer's to be lived in if you can. You know, you're supposed to be outside, getting darker, you know, glowing, energizing, getting your vitamin D, E, whatever. But if you have no cover,
Christoff says trees provide shelter far more profound than just blocking the sun. More on that in a moment. If Christoff is the king of green spaces, it's an inherited title and a mission all in one, handed down from the woman who brought his family to Walnut Street.
I'm in front of my house, born and raised. This is what we do. I am continuing my grandmother's legacy. Cassie Lee Lindsey, affectionately known as Momo, M-O-M-M-O, because I couldn't say mom, so Momo, was and still is an inspiration to me as far as her ability just to see a person where they were, you know, and give to them accordingly.
Trees play many roles, but here in Bergen Square, they're a welcome sign to an often stigmatized city.
Hear things about Camden which aren't true. You know, oh yeah, if you're a nonprofit or if you're someone coming to Camden, you hear the I'm going to call it the boogeyman stories about Camden. We're just people, just like anyone else. We have different personalities on any given day. You know, just don't poke the bear. That's all. You know, because some folks are really tightly wound here for a lot of reasons. You know what I'm saying? Some personal, some environmental. You never know. You know, yeah, and sometimes it's just survival mode. You know, folks are just trying to get through. But trees and people are essential because I can tell you, first of all, if you look down, you can notice that you can walk under every tree because I'm over 6 foot, 6'1". I used to be 6'2". I'm probably 6 foot down shrinking. And so I made sure that if I could walk, I hate getting poked in the head by anything. I don't want anything touching my face. It's one of my pet peeves. Believe me, it's a pet peeve. So I make sure that you have a pathway on both sides because these are my trees. I consider them mine. And even if a person comes by in a stupor, and let's be honest, we have people under the influence any time of day here. But when they're coming through to do what they do, they hit the street, they kind of soften a little bit. You know, they you can see almost a physical change. You can see a cog turn and click. And then when they pass the green space, meaning the adopt-a-lot, the community garden, it's a glimmer of recognition. Well, I used to do that with grandma. I used to do that with granddad. You know, I did this when I was a kid. They actually stop and stare. And then I say, "Are you from South Jersey?" "Yeah." "So you?" And then I quiz them. So what's that? "Oh, that's such and such." The knowledge is there. They're just not present. They have a moment, what they call a lucid moment, a moment of serenity. That's all you can ask for.
It's that moment of recognition, that moment of connection that guides Christoff to plant and prune his trees in his neighborhood. By removing obstacles, he creates a gateway of grace. Trees, he suggests, are nature's speed bumps. They slow the flow of mental traffic.
Yeah. So there's ebb and flows in an environment like Camden. Camden is reproduced throughout the country tens of thousands of times. All right. Meaning, if it's hot, people are going to take shade. The time of the month, stereotypically tells you what their movements are going to be. So you're almost three quarters, halfway through the month, three quarters into the month, two-thirds through the end of the month. So things are slowing down. So now folks are actually detoxing. Trees assist in that. It brings them back to their humanity because they're not on a run, if you follow what I'm saying. Because they've run out of monies. So now they're reverting back to more themselves. You know, they're taking time to talk to you. They're taking time to check out their environment. They're taking time to just enjoy the day without the obsession and compulsion.
Like many cities across the country, Camden is dealing with the consequences of the opioid crisis.
Let me tell you about addiction. It doesn't care. It doesn't care. And I hate to say, I would not wish addiction, if I had an enemy, on an enemy. All right? It dehumanizes you. It takes you down to your basis level because it's an addiction. It's a compulsion, you know? And you are not truly you. You have been reduced to something. When you start doing something and then it starts doing you, not saying that it was fun, but it's definitely now not fun. And unfortunately, the opioid epidemic, it's something I wish no community should have ever experienced. Addiction's addiction. Loss is loss, you know. And any addict would tell you, if they're honest, it doesn't just affect them. It affects at least 40 other people. I mean, seriously, let's be honest. It affects everyone you know.
Christoff believes urban forestry plays a vital role in the community's response. He says the shelter of trees provides an unspoken protection to people trapped in substance abuse. It's a bold statement, but one that drives his stewardship every day.
I would have to say that within us all, there's a connection to nature that is our birthright, you know, irrespective of what belief system, right? Mother Earth, Gaia, whatever you want to call it, we are a part of it. So on some level, I believe we connect subconsciously to something as majestic as a tree, you know? I like sunflowers because they tower over me and they make me feel small, but not insignificant. You know, I think trees do the same thing. They make you feel, plus they're so useful. I mean, my God, please, you know, with proper management, you know. But I believe a tree makes you feel not powerless, but it puts things in perspective.
It's a physical and mental change in perspective he witnesses firsthand.
But it gives you a breath. In this place, they sit on right on that step right there. I tell folks, and this is going to sound so, you may edit this out. I say it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Be respectful. Respect yourself first of all. And I say, I know where you are. You know, I'm not judging you. But check the environment. Are there any children around? Any elderly around? Is anybody on their step? What are you bringing to the environment? Enjoy the shade. Here's a bottle of water. Here's some Narcan. Be careful. That's what you do.
As we talk about the importance of planting trees, the king issues perhaps his most noble decree, that there's a lesson for humanity beneath the bark and roots.
You know, there's a vast network underneath, right? And I don't want to sound like Carl Sagan, but we are star stuff. You know, we're cosmos. Come on, man. We're all related. Just get with the program. Are we more involved in trees? Says who? I don't know. Trees, they have one tree that's 4,000 years old. I think it's called the Methuselah tree or something like that. It's like, come on. Um, Trees talk to one another. Trees aid one another. Trees aid ailing trees next to them. Imagine that, without fail. The whole ecosystem under this works in unison, works in harmony. How about that? You know. So, trees and people are a natural fit. I hug my trees. I pat my trees. I haven't named them because there's a lot of trees, but I do think they respond. And I do tell them sometimes, yo, bro, I'm gonna have to cut off something because it's not right. And I think they feel pain. But I also know that sometimes they endure that because it's gonna be better for them in the long run.
After our walk up the block, Christoff says it boils down to this: when you steward trees, you're really stewarding people.
We have to figure out now that we can't choose the tangible over the eternal. You know what I'm saying? Trees are eternal if the environment stands. They are. They're long lasting. Um, Profit, money, commodities, stuff, real estate, jewelry, that's all here and now. That somebody actually can go in your tomb and take. Ta-da. We have to make that decision now to, I think it's the Lakota. They say plan for 7 generations. You have to think 7 generations ahead. Because you're not planning, I'm not planning. They say you don't plant a tree for someone now, you plant a tree for someone 10 and 20 years from now.
Stewarding trees and people is a vocation Christoff takes seriously. During our time together, he paused more than once to encourage young adults in the neighborhood, sharing job leads and other connections. He teaches gardening and tree planting with no intentions of slowing down, regardless of what the calendar or his body says.
Aging and aches and pains, they bring you back to reality quickly. So you do what you can, you take your breaks. The youth are, as far as trees and urban ag, are the solution. Start early, introduce them early, and then it might latch on.
Up the block, we sit at a small table to survey the lot donated by the city, which Christoff planted and maintains. The King's Court, so to speak, is a lush green space with no shortage of singing birds.
Who would have thunk it?
Why do you say?
Because it's such a juxtaposition of what you think Camden is. You know, there are. This is not just an oasis. The whole, in every neighborhood, if it doesn't have a green space and tree with trees like this, it should. It makes a difference.
How?
Quality of life immediately. It softens your daily struggle.
Green spaces, he says, have the power to transform an entire community.
What I'm saying is a lot of folks, when they're in the midst of things, they are out of character. Put them in a green space, sunlight, shade, whatever, quiet, right? And then revert back to themselves.
It's a transformation Christoff knows personally and invites others to get rooted, so to speak, by planting trees. Nature speaks to life's mysteries, and this king enjoys waxing poetic in the soil.
So, me digging centers me. Plus, you got the grounding aspect, you're smelling. I mean, we are, depending on your theology, we are dirt. We are dust.
Carbon.
That's it. This is what I want to go back into a pod. I know either that or cremated. I mean, don't put me in a box.
No, I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Put me in a pod, bro. And there's granddad over there, Put a seed in my hand. Let's see what happens. What's gonna pop up? I would like it to be an oak though. An oak seed. Because yeah, oak. Something sturdy, something that's gonna stand the test of time and live 200-300 years.
For now, he's honoring his family by harnessing the trees to fight stigma and grow soft spaces for those facing hard circumstances.
Can you imagine? This is in Camden, New Jersey. And when you don't hear the ATVs or the other racket, of urban living, you could be anywhere. So it is a time machine.
People and Trees is a production of the New Jersey Tree Foundation, an equal opportunity provider. This program is funded by the Inflation Reduction Act and U.S. Department of Agriculture, Forest Service, Urban and Community Forestry Program. The USDA is an equal opportunity provider, employer, and lender. To learn more about urban forestry and the work of the New Jersey Tree Foundation, visit us at njtrees.org.